The United States military has had a lot of practice rooting out insurgents. That's what we've been doing, maybe not successfully, but that's what we've been doing for the last 20 plus years in the Middle East. But let's not forget, we have turned our own apparatus upon domestic actors in the past, in the 50s and the 60s. And I wonder, they were effective, it seemed back then, maybe not effective enough at rooting out the communists in academia and the media. Makes you wonder about all of those hearings and stuff in the 50s and 60s at this point now. But technology has evolved to a point, and social media has evolved to a point now where how concerned are you that we have all handed over to them all of the intelligence they need to figure out through social media scouring and scraping and all kinds of, network analysis of who exactly is doing anything, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but just like the intelligence that they want, that they can act on. Have we all just handed it over to them? Have we all just pulled down our pants basically and said, you can send the drone strike right here, CIA, if that's what you want? I mean, how concerned should people be about their public discussions, about their social media activity? How much of that is going to come back and bite people in the ass?
Well, I would put it this way. I'd say don't have any discussion on an encrypted app or what you think is an encrypted chat server, Discord, whatever it may be. Just don't have any one that you wouldn't have in public, right? And I'd say that to everybody. I know there was that sort of thing going on yesterday on Twitter. Should you be anonymous? Should you not be anonymous? And I'm very much someone, look, if you want to get out your political frustrations on social media, I understand the interest for that. I understand there's a huge id driving that. But you also want to have a normie job and you want to have the house and the wife and the kids, right? Stay anonymous. I would just say that stay as anonymous as possible. Don't post anything that could connect connect back to yourself. And by the way, obviously, if you're posting something that's, like violent or, just, don't do that. But, there will be people who target you for your comments. There will be people who target you for your jokes, for your memes, things you say in jest, whatever it may be. And they will try to ruin your life because I've said before, these forces are always looking for targets, and they've erected a new type of false reality, right? Where they are fighting illusory phantoms of white rage, as General Milley called it. They are fighting Russian agents, right? And by the way, the reason for the Russian supposed influence network, the reason they are constantly trying to tie domestic populism to some sort of international Russian conspiracy is because then that gives the national security state the authority to combat it as if it is a international threat, a foreign threat, rather than going after their own domestic internal enemies. This is why you see this part and parcel, and this is why in the movie Plot Against the President, the entire Russiagate fiasco goes on, is because these tools are not intended to be used against political adversaries. But the loophole is if you can add in some type of foreign actor, some type of foreign agent, boom, it gets you there. And that's one thing that a lot of people say to me. They say, Jack, and I've seen Eric Weinstein was posting about this recently. He said, well, I wonder if the CCP and the People's Republic of China are behind wokeism and critical race theory and, Antifa and all these different things. And I say, Eric, it's no, they're not. They're really not. This is domestic. It is coming from the West. It is being driven by white liberals and the intersectional left that are attempting to impose and are doing a very, very good job of imposing a new regime on the citizens, the individual citizens of the West.
Now that new regime is here. Right. And as you said, it's like beginning to reveal itself, and it's revealing itself, especially in the military. The news that's been coming out has been terrifying. I mean, the Space Force guy getting in trouble for just reading about the enemy. And we've got General Milley now, who, what did he tell Stephen Miller to shut the F up when Miller was talking about the problems that we were having domestically in the United States, the fires,
right,
the arson. I personally viewed 100 or more felony incidents in one night. Assaults on police officers, arson, people tearing things down, destroying, like, it was real. It was happening. I can't believe that people were pretending that it wasn't happening.
But think about that. Why did that evoke such an emotional response from
Right.
Milley?
Right. Why?
Why did he? This is a 4-star general. Why did Stephen Miller, who I think, to say it nicely, he's not exactly an intimidating guy, right, in person. Why does his comment evoke such an angry, insipid, and snippy response from Milley? It's because that information threatens his entire worldview. That information causes a cognitive dissonance spike in his mentality that shudders his entire body through a physical reaction. You can see the same as he's walking with President Trump on the square of Lafayette Square Park on the north side of the White House after they've removed the rioters, and they're going out there in a show of force to show that the American president and the American system will not be intimidated, right? That was the point of that. But you can see Milley's face as he's walking there in his ill-fitting uniform, that he's looking distressed, he's giving side-eye, he's looking around. He later does this huge apology for it because he knows that he is a man of the new regime, and the new regime is not allowed, right, to admit that these things exist, because to live in the new regime requires you to adhere to a series of lies, deceits, and falsehoods that have all been carefully erected to prevent you from admitting that the actual truth, right, the actual reality exists. The rise in crime, that's gun. There's always an answer for everything, right? The rise in crime, that's guns, that's the NRA. You have to go after the NRA, right? The rise of Antifa, well, they're just responding to racism. They're responding to white people. The January 6th, well, that was an insurrection. That wasn't people who were just wanted to have a redress of grievances against the government that got out of hand. No. That has to be the worst thing in the world. And everything that happened throughout 2020 was just localized protests. I mean, you could easily turn that around and say, well, January 6th was just one building, right? Well, no. This was the worst thing that's ever happened in American history. Forget about 9/11. Forget about the Boston bombing. Forget about Oklahoma City. Forget about the Civil War. No. This, and this alone, right? Because again, these are the lies that you're required to tell yourself to be able to survive in the new regime. And this is a guy who has spent his entire life in the bureaucracy of the United States military, his entire adult life, and he has survived by repeating every single piece, every single plank of the new regime's platform that's been handed to him. He's taken them, he's subsumed them, he's internalized them. But when he's lashing out at Miller right there, it's actually quite interesting to me, the psychology of it, because that's his conscience, actually. That's his internal understanding of what is true and what is not true. And he knows that what Miller is saying is true. And he can see with his eyes what's actually happening. But because he's imposed so much of the false reality on him, he knows that he can't accept it. So he's actually not fighting against Stephen Miller. He's fighting against himself.
First of all, Stephen Miller, if you're out there, I'd love to talk to you on the show. It's been hard to get in touch with him. He seemed to always be bringing the red pills everywhere that he went. And that one time that he did the press conference was amazing. I wish we had seen more.
Remember, right? Going back to that, just the formulation of what is a red pill, what is a blue pill. I think a lot of people mistake that for thinking red is Republican, blue is Democrat. No, not at all. No. Blue means you continue to exist in the false reality. Red means your eyes are opened to actual reality. That is the point of a red pill, that you cut through, right? You cut through those layers and layers of, what do they call it? The critical lens, right? You take away from that. And, Serial Pharrell in the first book of A Game of Thrones, see with your eyes, Arya, see with your eyes.
Interesting. Way to go. Way to call back and close the loop on all of it by coming back.
I didn't mean to do that. It just actually kind of,
it just came out.
I was flowing, man. I was flowing.
It's authentic, Jack. It's authentic. Now, combine the complete takeover, well, at least of the military leadership, by this desire to survive within the new regime. Combine that with Biden's.
And certainly not the first time a new regime has targeted the military for purchase immediately upon takeover. Of course, you have to target the military first. Again, this is completely historical.
Right. But combine that with Biden's comments about the blood of patriots being brought to American soil by our own domestic F-15s and nuclear bombs. I'm getting a little bit concerned. Who's standing up for us, man? Like, how did this happen? Like, I'm thinking of General Patton, right? And now we're talking about General Milley, Mr. Blue Pill. And like, how did that happen? And what's here to protect us right now? If not going to be Second Amendment, if not going to be the military, if not going to be the Senate or the Congress or the universities or the media, who's looking out for us? How did the military get here if it's any different than what we've been talking about? And then who's looking out for us?
I saw a comment on Twitter the other day, and people say, "Oh, you know, Poso, you never read the comments, never respond to anybody. People ask questions all the time." Actually, I do read the comments. I do look a lot. Not again, you know, I get a lot, so I can't read all of them. But this one said, "Just wait for the cavalry to arrive." And I was looking at this person. I couldn't tell it was an anonymous account who it was or what their background was at all. And I kept thinking, wait for who? Right? Wait for who? This is it, right? This is us. So it's either we stand up now and we stand together and we stand strong and use peace. Always use peace. When I saw those people, those parents in Loudoun County standing up for their children, standing up for their rights, and singing the Star-Spangled Banner as they were arrested, right? When you think that we live in a time where the Star-Spangled Banner has become a dissident anthem, right? It is a dissident anthem, and the red, white, and blue has become a dissident flag, right? Understand what point in the story you're in, right? Understand what point in the story you're in. That's the time when you need to go out there. It's not about politics. It's not about left, right. It's about up, down. Who has power? Who doesn't? Where do we want to go as a society? Do we want to go down this path of the new morals, or do we want to go back to traditional American values? And that's a phrase that I'm going to start using, and I'm going to continue to start using. Continue to say it. Traditional American values.